Welcome to the Young and Pruitt podcast. An episode of this podcast is brought to you by youngandpruitt.com. All the previous episodes are on there. Layla's blog's on there. All kinds of stuff. Trying to get some merchandise, but the prices of that stuff is a little bit higher than the budget of the podcast currently.
I'll pull some strings.
Yeah.
What do we need? We need shirts. We definitely need shirts.
We need a sponsorship. So if you or you know someone that owns a company that would like us to name that company on this podcast, tweet us. Let us know. Email us. There's an email. youngandpruitt@gmail.com.
That was very well placed. I mean, that was very. You snuck that one in there.
Hey, this is
Sneaky little fox.
Shameless plug. If you're listening to this on iTunes and you would like to listen to this on Stitcher, we're over there. Trying to get on YouTube. That's a whole other process and programs I'm downloading and trying to figure that out. Today's episode, we have Matt Weber. He is the crew chief currently with Brett Holmes Racing. It's an ARCA car. What number is that?
23.
The number 23. I've worked with Matt from the old Venturini days. Mm-hmm. Got a couple wins with the man. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is a blast.
Where are you from originally?
Gallion, Ohio. Small town, about 5 miles outside of Mansfield.
Oh, yeah.
Halfway point between Cleveland and Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Shawshank.
yes. Yeah.
That my very first truck race, my very first race ever was at Mansfield when Donnie Leo won.
Wow.
Oops, I won Mansfield.
Sat on the pole that day.
Did he?
I did.
Oh.
With Benson.
Yeah, full circle.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
That place was crazy because getting the pit boxes in and out of that place.
That was designed for dirt when we used to race there with sprint cars.
Oh, yeah?
When they reopened the place when I was a kid, they used to stage there. There was no fence on that little S curve, but they staged all the cars for the next race there. And then they would either push off or...
Oh, so they could get the run down the hill and get it fired
That's
up.
where they got everybody ready, and it just moved the show along a lot faster.
Huh.
But for what we were doing with NASCAR, that didn't make any sense.
So that's basically like your home track then?
Yes. I used to race there all the time. That was a Sunday night race, so that was the end of 3 races in a row for us around the state. We would usually run Lakeville Speedway, then it was Wayne County Speedway, and then Mansfield.
And what series exactly?
So we're, at the time when we were running was 360 sprint cars. There was a couple different series names at the time, but it was just now pretty much everything is ASC sanctioned.
Yeah.
So back then it was BOSS, Buckeye Outlaw Sprint Series. We would run a lot.
Oh, so it's just a local deal? It was just those?
It was regional. I mean,
Regional?
just Ohio area. So,
Gotcha. So was that how you got your start into racing? Was running sprint cars?
My father went to school with a guy that owned a pretty famous sprint car. It was the 00 Ken Bodkin sprint car in Ohio. Actually had a couple of pretty high-profile drivers. Actually, Kendra Jacobs' uncle drove the car, Dean Jacobs. And then, obviously, Kendra's dad is Kenny. And then we had a whole bunch of friends. There was Ed and Jack Hodenshield. There was the Rusty McClure. There was just a whole bunch of people that went through this car when I was a baby, actually. And that's how I got started. And then he moved on. That car shut down for a little while. We moved on to a couple other teams. And by the time I was 16, my dad was ready to retire, and I just kept going. So, but I decided that sprint cars wasn't going to make it for me so pretty quick. So I went to engineering school, studied mechanical engineering, and then when I got out of there, my first move was to Indianapolis to work for an ARCA team, and just been doing asphalt ever since. I keep joking around. I was like, I've never went to a NASCAR race, asphalt race, until I worked on a car. Dirt was where it was, dirt's for racing, asphalt's for getting there.
Hey,
that's where I keep getting at.
Yeah,
so
that's the old saying.
And then now it's hard for me to grasp that I never messed with asphalt until I started working on the cars. So
I witnessed your dirt track pass come out at the ARCA race at Springfield when we had Swindell in the car. That was one of those cool deals where I don't know how he feels about it from his end, but I knew exactly what he needed
just from meeting in the shop, me and Billy were having a conversation of what we need to do to the car, and I'm like, I don't think that's the way to go. And went over to talk to Kevin. I go, you want the car to do this? He's like, yeah. I was like, I got you. Simple as that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wasn't that car just destroyed?
Destroyed twice.
Yeah, destroyed twice.
Wow. And then drove it.
Failed tech inspection after the race by over 2 inches. It was destroyed. Come to find out, we actually, on the steering box, one of the 2 hits actually caused the whole pitman arm to move probably 45 degrees. I mean, if anyone knows anything about a steering box, there is a wide tooth that locates the pitman arm. It can't be put on wrong.
Yeah.
Well, it moved without stripping the arm. Otherwise, we'd have been done. But it just moved and stopped in the broach of the pitman arm. It was the craziest thing. I found that in the post race afterwards. I was like, oh, we got so lucky. It was just meant to be that day. It was awesome.
Yeah, that move that he had. Sorry about that on my phone. That move that he had, because we were in second with like 15 laps to go.
Fifth.
And
yeah. Big Bill comes on the radio.
Yes, Big Bill.
And goes, if you got anything left, go. The next lap around, we're leading.
Yes. It was the craziest thing
He
I've
just
ever
turned
seen.
it on and left. We ended up winning that race by half a track in less than 10 laps.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, it was
just playing
awesome.
with him.
Yes. I mean, he was...
Because Bill, he was standing on top of the hauler, and he said that he could see Swindell just kind of hanging back, and he seen that the car was fast, and he was, kind of going. And Bill just got anxious and said, hey, okay, if you're...
I was going to wait a couple more laps, but Big Bill, the Venturinas, they get excited. And it's like, he keys the radio, and I'm like, I won't say nothing. I'll let it go, And then he was just...
Boom. Just
game on.
It's gone.
Yeah, and that car was destroyed. I got some pictures of it.
Oh, the key thing here, if you ever need a marketing guy, Zach's your guy, because he remembered to put the S back on the Zaxby's logo when we had all the yellow tape after practice. He made sure to finish off the logo placement just right.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
And if you pull up my Instagram, you could probably see that on the hood. It's right where the Zaxby's comes over, right at the cowl on the left front. Like, we had all this yellow tape, and I'm like, come on. I'm like, we're...
At least try.
Yeah. And so then I took blue tape and I with a razor blade the S out of it, so then it still said Zaxby's. It's a little different font, but the S is still there. Yeah. I mean, as a race car going around the racetrack at 80 miles an hour, or however fast they were getting around.
Well, you were there for practice, right?
I was there the whole weekend.
He stuffs it under the guardrail going into turn 3. The spotter doesn't say a word. We'll come to find out later. He goes, I wasn't going to tell you. And Kevin didn't say anything about it, So I'm like, the cautions. I'm like, what's caution for? Crickets. I'm like, does my radio work? You hear me? What's going on? And then he comes around, and because at Springfield you have a U-shaped pit road right in the middle. It's not like he's coming down and you can see him for a long way. He pops around a corner. I'm like, what happened? Wheels all jacked up, flat, and the whole side of the car's messed up.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it was one of the slower cars got sideways, and he wedged in between them and the guardrail. Yeah. And the guardrail is what knocked in the...
Yeah, it's just Armco, so he actually just got stuck under there, and it's like... It was just weird. So we're thrashing for an hour or so, because it was rain delayed, so it pushed us all way back. We just got a short session right before the race. They actually... The only reason we made the race was because they canceled pre-race tech.
Yep.
And we're throwing a ball joint in it. I mean... and building it up. Everybody's on the grid. We're pushing out. I think, was it National Anthem going, and we're still going to the grid. I mean, we barely made it, and
you had to go out and earn that.
Yeah, because I remember pushing the car and having our hands crossed over our hearts as we were pushing.
Yeah, trying to get to where we need to go, but still showing some respect and doing it the right way. I'll leave it to that. We're going to go there. It wasn't 20, 30 laps into the race. Car comes around the corner in the pit road again, the same way.
Yeah. Same exact crash. Same exact thing.
I mean, so I know they're trying to pull a metal fender back, and it's already been destroyed. I'm like, cut it off. And I'll never forget, Brooksy, he just looks at me, gives me a thumbs up, and we sent it on. And then, was it the next pit stop? You guys busted off a 12-second stop.
Yeah,
and
then we got
10 spots.
Yes, but then the last one we got blocked in because we had worked our way all the way up to the front at that point.
Yeah.
And then the last one.
Well, that was I pitted again, and you remember Billy, what are you doing?
Yeah,
I was
we
like,
got blocked.
I'm making a stagger change. I got a dirt guy in the car. we're good.
We got blocked in bad. We got blocked in so bad.
He had to work for it.
There's really no pit road there.
Yeah.
So it's just a free-for-all. So we were one of the first ones that came in. All these lap cars come in. There's no room for them, so they just stiff them in there every way that they can. We got blocked in bad. And I remember, like, that was like, well, that's the race. Like, we're not going to win. And then he fought his way all the way through there.
I'll never forget, and I don't know if you've ever seen, you were part of it, weren't you, the motion?
Oh, we have a little Degeneration X?
The whole pit crew that was in with these guys, I don't know what was going on because it was my first race, but they had something going on with Billy at the time. They bust off that 12-second stop, and Billy's car's still sitting there. Next thing you know, I look down, and I see
That wasn't me. That was other guys on the team.
I believe it was Kelly and Brooksy and somebody else just sitting there looking at Billy, like pointing at him and doing this stuff.
Friendly rivalry.
I just started laughing. I told somebody else, I was like, I need to get updated on what's going on because this is hilarious, but I missed something.
So you go to Indy with the ARCA team, and then what happens?
They actually had a second car that they were bringing in that wasn't real happy with how things were going, so we actually moved it south. Rented a shop. Actually, Eddie Sharp had a shop on Harris Road, which is right behind Kenny Wallace's old house. Not sure who was there. Don't really know, but it was a 4 or 5 bay, just a garage that we worked out of, and ran a couple races with that. And luckily enough, got a call to go to the, at the time was the 59 truck, owned by Jim Harris out of Martinsville, Virginia. And then we did that for 6 or 8 months. That was my first big, truck experience. I started fabricating for them and doing this and that, basically a shop hand. Learned what a truck was at that point, because up until that point the ARCA cars, we just sent them down south, they came back, done, and then we would just take them to the track. We didn't really know what we were doing. I didn't have a clue. I was a dirt guy. So once I got into that truck team, that and then led to the Bill Davis deal. So it was a real short period of time. I think it was less than 3 years on asphalt. I'm at Bill Davis. I'm the undercar guy for Johnny Benson. I was like, oh, this is easy. This is all right. Now I see what this is all about. We fly everywhere. We had PR people that would get us VIP tickets, doing all this cool stuff. And I was like, oh, this is great. Well, we ended up finishing second in points that first year, won a few races. And then the second year we finally get the championship and, won, I think, win 9 races in 2 years. It was a pretty cool deal. But I think it was a week before Christmas, we knew something was coming because some friends at the engine shop, because at the time Bill Davis owned the engine shop, Triad, chassis shop, his own Cup engine shop, truck and Cup shops. So we were all heard wind of where he started. He started at the engine shop and worked his way around in a circle, and the assembly shop was the last one to figure it out. So I think it was about 3 o'clock, we're all just sitting on tables going, well, they're going to come talk to us. What are they going to say? And finally he comes down and they told us that they're being bought out, but we're all going to have jobs. The typical line. It's come to be typical these days, I guess. We're selling, and we're just going to do this for tax reasons. And you come back after the first year, be under a different name, and you all have jobs. Well, we're supposed to call in, I believe, or show up 2nd or 3rd of January. Well, we start doing that, and they're like, no, we're not ready yet. No, we're not ready yet. So it's like too late to find something else at this time.
Yeah. So
basically, once Bill Davis shut down, I was out. Couldn't find anything. Nobody was really... That was one of the first big... I don't know if purge is the right word, but that was the mechanic layoff. The first one. Hundreds of people are out of jobs, and those jobs never came back.
Was that the High Point shop?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I ended up working at the Mooresville bowling alley in the pro shop.
Really?
For 2 years. Drilling bowling balls and coaching people and helping out. It was...
Did you bowl a lot up in Ohio?
I was a youth bowler. We won high school team championships and stuff like that.
That's being a bowler.
Wow.
I didn't bowl in college because I focused on racing at that time. But then I got back into it and went, did some regional tournaments and stuff like that, and started just getting away from racing, just bowling. Something to take my mind off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the time frame is losing me. I'm losing it here, but
Won the Ohio State Championship in high school?
high school. It was a regional. It was only like where I grew up was Crawford County, and it was 2 or 3 counties around us. It was real small at the time, but we did that 3 years in a row in high school. I mean, we just dominated. So, but at some point, me and my wife Dana got together, and I told her when we got together, I was that guy. I was like, I race for a living. This is not normal. I race for a living. If you're going to make me choose, door's over there. And she's like, okay, ha, ha, ha. You're not racing. You don't race. What are you talking about? Well, I sent an email off to ThorSport one day. You know how people usually put job postings up on J-Ski's back before they get flooded with people that aren't qualified for anything. But I sent a resume up there, and Pepper called me, and she was actually in the shower. And we agreed to a working interview for a week. I was like, sweet, when you need me up there? How's tomorrow? I can get there the next day. It takes 8 hours to get there.
Yeah,
It's
it sounds like
8
a Pepper
o'clock at night or whatever. So I yell upstairs. It's like, hey, I'm leaving. She goes, what? And so we talked about it, and I went and did the working interview, and it only took a couple days. Joe Shear was actually up there at the time. Mm-hmm. And they were gone at, this was March. So I'm not sure what the schedule was at that time, but they were gone somewhere prior to the Martinsville race. I was there for 3 weeks until we ran the Martinsville race. But that's where I actually interviewed with a guy named Jesse Saunders. He works for the 48 Cup car now. Mm-hmm. And it was, luckily, we did a couple days, and he's like, yeah, this guy's fine. And then they all came back the next day, and we all sat down. It was like, all right, we're going to do this. So I became the gas man there. So they pretty much overnighted a fire suit to Martinsville. It showed up like an hour before the race. I never tried this thing on, And my very first pit stop for those guys, I'll never forget, because at the time the Schultzes were very new, and it was 30 degrees the race time.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
So I engage, and when I disengage first can to let the car come around and swap out, I mean it just made a mess because they used Krytox when they rebuilt the heads, and it didn't close. So it made a mess. I think the tire carrier fell down. Well, I wasn't paying attention. I go back in, I stick the second can, and I have a bad habit of when I fueled of letting the car pull away from me, and I just stand there.
Yeah, you can't do that with a Schultz head.
Oh, you can, but not standing in fuel. Well, I didn't really know what was going on until the front tire carrier is hugging me.
You skated the whole,
the ethanol fuel and all that melted my rubber shoes, and I just slid all the way down, and I had no idea until I'm literally 2 feet from out of the box. I got the can. I'm a big dude. I got the can. Okay, it's not getting away. I've never dropped one of those things. So I got it in a bear hug, and I'm like, what?
You're skating.
What am I doing here? And it disengaged fine, whatever. But I'm like, that was different. So
Well, that's called getting every drop out of it there.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that when Joe fired me, he's like, I've kept you around so long because your gassing ability. I was like, oh, that's good to know. Well, that was like the last time I ever gassed, but I didn't keep that going. But that was good to know. Thank you.
So then after you left ThorSport, where'd you go?
Let's see. I was fired there in 2012. I went to the 92 truck to help them out. Ricky Benton out in Cerro Gordo, which is an hour from Myrtle Beach, out 74. It's way out there. But went out there and helped them out for a few months. And then I got one of those calls where you're just like in awe of who's calling me, And that call was from Paul Andrews at Cunningham. He goes, I need a car chief, and I got your number from Rick Bennett, who's still a buddy of mine today. He actually owns a food truck, and I try to visit him every time he shows up in the area. But I was like, yeah, I'll come talk to you. So I went and met with him on a Saturday when I was back home. We agreed to do the deal and all that. And fortunately, I talked to Ricky, and he's like, I don't fault anybody for trying to improve themselves and move up in their career. And I was like, well, that's awesome, because most people don't think that way. They're like, F you, get out of here.
Yeah, I think it's about 60-40.
Yeah.
And with my experience, I mean, some of the people, they get really upset. But then there's the other people's like, man, like, I hate to see you go, but I get it.
And that ended up working out for me, because I went back just actually last year, the year before, and helped him again for 4 or 6 months. So that was one of those deals where that paid off for me. But basically the whole time I was at Cunningham, I was the setup plate guy. I set up both ARCA cars they had at the time, and then the K&N cars that they were trying to run part-time. And then that job led to Mason Mitchell's. And at the time, they were going to bring me in to be a car chief. They had hired Teddy Brown to build him a speedway car, and they were going to run the
Teddy
deal.
Brown.
And we ran the test. I've never seen ARCA so mad at a car in my life. I mean, we rolled that thing off, and it had, I mean, they went to town on it. I don't know if anybody in the industry knows Bob Newling anymore of New Fab race cars, but he went to town on this car. I guess Newling used to work for Yates in the heyday of when they were winning super speedway races and stuff like that. So his car looked great, but they tried this roller skate ramp of a roof. I mean, this thing had 16 pieces to it. I mean, they ended up, it was so bad that, that checkered flag crap they put on the unreleased production cars.
Yeah.
That distorts the body lines and all that. We printed a wrap just for the test to put on this car, because it was bad. I mean, and I'll never forget Bobby Thompson coming over to Teddy and Russ and all of us. Basically, if Bobby Thompson is looking at his shoes, you're in trouble. And I saw nothing but the top of his head. And I was like, and he's like, do not bring this back to the race. We were like, yes, sir.
Yeah, ARCA tests at speedways can be very interesting. You see all kinds of crazy stuff getting
it's like
done.
open book. I mean, the only thing you don't get to do is mess with the plate.
Yeah.
If you do, you're out. And if they catch you, but it's nothing to go down there with. They have 600-pound spec springs. It's nothing to go down there with 300s in it and just play the game. You're playing the PR spin. Basically, you want to be at the top of the sheet before you. Most people do. I don't even care. I was like, all right, my car. I'm going to make it to where I'm pushing the rules, but I can get through. So I'm not going to give up anything. But those guys go down there just to run the big number and put up that PR and sell that ride. And it's like, all right, that's fine. And it's pretty interesting to see what people come up with sometimes.
Yeah, you can almost draw a line and say, okay, now everything above this is bullshit. And then down here is where these guys are actually doing the deal.
Yeah, for example, 2015, 16. Anyway, whenever Cole Custer sat on the pole, Townley won the race. That's 16, I believe.
No. Let's see, we're 17. That would have been 15 or 14.
It was not 14, because that was when I was with Mitchell.
That would have been 15.
It'd have been 15. No, that was
the only year that
15 was when I was with Frank Kimmel, so it was 16.
Dang, was it 16 when he won?
When he sat on the pole and Townley won it the last time, because they went out of business at the end of that year. Yeah.
Oh, in his own car.
In his own car.
Oh, okay,
not the Venturini car.
Yes, okay, in his own car.
When we were testing, we were 18th. When we went back for the race, we were 14th on the board, and I just parked the car. I'm like, those guys are not getting through tech. And they had some fun with the draw that year for the group qualifying, but it ended up where we were at the end of the pack in the fastest group. We sat on the pole, and then it's not like we had a slug of a car. We led the first 46 laps of the race. And then it was bad pit stop. I mean, we had the Haas pit crew and actually hung a lug nut on my right side only stop. And we come out right behind John West Townley. And that put us on the inside line next to somebody who ended up losing something out of their car. I'm pretty sure it was a battery, but it put a hole in our nose. I mean, it put the square indention into the nose, busted all the Bondo out. I mean, it just messed the car up, and we were limping around after that. So I think we finished
at
11th.
Iowa 2015. I forget whose car it was, but the tungsten fell out and went through Jamie Dick's.
Through the windshield,
and like busted his helmet. That was some crazy shit.
Yeah, that's why that is one of the worst penalties.
that needs to be. There's no excuse for that.
That's a safety.
It's
thing.
not like back in the day. I believe I'll never forget at Indy, Casey Kane's driving the 9. I think it's his first year, but he gets turned at Indy. I think going into 3, center punches the wall, and there's an in-car camera of a guy about to T-bone him. But you watch the car as it backs up off of the wall, all the lead spills out. That's where the lead rail caps came from. You know, this was back when they ran bolts. You know, so that's where the front lead rail cap rule came from. Was from that wreck when you just watched it all lay out on the racetrack like it was in the rail. It was pretty cool.
Speaking of lead, I was also at Kentucky in 2015. We were on a rain delay. They had canceled final practice and then reissued final practice. And there was a certain like mid-marker car that was out there running like a second faster than like the JGR cars.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden we get to the end of practice, and all of a sudden you got like a bunch of dudes like stuffing all the lead back in when they were like 100 pounds light.
and then it rained.
And they got the pole.
Yep.
Because of that. Which is funny because I like the team and the driver and everything. It's like, I get it. You guys need some
They played the
time.
game and made it.
Yeah, and then they changed that to where you can no longer. Now it's off of points.
Yeah.
Now it's no longer off of practice times.
Per the rule book.
Yes.
Yeah.
To stop shenanigans such as that.
Which I thought was funny. You got to do what you got.
It's great. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's just like when who's it? Danny O'Quinn, Bristol.
Mineral oil.
Yeah.
No lead.
Yeah.
Weight in the gloves.
Yeah. So, okay. So you're at Cunningham's doing the ARCA deal. You went to the truck, went to Mitchell's.
Yep.
Now we're starting to get into where the Venturini deal comes in.
Well, the big part about Mitchell's was it was a very convoluted scenario. We talked about that car that Teddy Brown built, and ARCA didn't like it. Well, shortly after we come back, Teddy's out of the picture. He didn't want to stick around. So I'm sitting there with one bare chassis and one bare shop, and I'm like of seniority, but I've never built a team from nothing. I've never ordered a part. I don't know where anything comes from. And Russ goes, "You got this, right?" "Sure." "Okay. What do I got?" He's like, "You build this team, go get."
So that was your first deal as a crew chief.
That was the crew chief. Well, I wasn't even at that point. I was not the crew chief. I was the general manager, parts guy, whatever. But I was not the crew chief. I was like, okay, so what am I doing? He goes, I'm working on getting a crew chief. You just build these cars, and we'll go run these races. So we work on getting parts in there. He works on the crew chief thing, and it was a couple weeks. He gets Brad Parrott, and then we start rolling around. We overheated at Daytona. We think we still finished 7th, but we start building these short track cars and intermediate cars and stuff like this. And Brad was, when he came in, I had been ordering some parts. He goes, "You just keep doing what you're doing, and I'll do my thing." Well, that involved him leaving. It was so much drama that first 4 months of that team. But the big thing was second race of the year, we go to Mobile. Now, at this point, we have one car built, no spares. We have one spare chassis sitting back at the shop that doesn't even have a body on it yet. And we go there, and Russ is showing somebody around, and he's like, "Yeah, well, hey, give me the keys to the hauler. I want to go over here and show them the hauler and the backup car and all that. And we're all looking at each other going, there ain't one. What are we going to show him? And it's like, hopefully he just doesn't look upstairs, just ignore it. And we all had as a crew, we had a pucker moment because it was coming off a 4 for the final lap of qualifying. Mason got it all sideways and caught it. But it was like, we're looking, from the infield, we're looking dead through the windshield at him. I was like, uh-oh, we're going to be caught here. But Russ found out later, but at the time, that whole weekend, he never knew that there was no backup car in that trailer, no nothing. And down the road, shortly after they tested Toledo, they made a move and got rid of Brad and just promoted me up to the ranks. And I keep telling people, if I'd ended up winning Toledo, I'd have retired because, dude, it's my home track for ARCA. It's the closest we go. Mm-hmm. But the stars aligned, not only to be promoted to be my first race as crew chief at home, but we unload that car, and me and Brad had butted some heads on a little bit on some philosophy. Mm-hmm. So I got to put it in and test it out right off the bat. And second run, we're the fastest thing there in practice, just top of the board. And Mason's like, this thing's awesome. He's like, what do you want to do? I don't know. Let me change something. And it went faster. Oh, how about this? And then made a couple more changes. All right, let's mock up and see what we got. We made one. It was all right. Russ was like, let's try it again. Okay. Buy me another set of tires, Russ. He didn't care. We're allowed unlimited tires in practice. I was like, all right, we got a set of scuffs for later, whatever. We fire another set of tires on her, made an adjustment, and we go, I'm talking 0.6 faster than anybody else there. And we're like, park it. And so we're happy. We're like, all right, let's just make sure we get through tech. We go to plug the damn oil heater in prior to the race. And at this time we had Roush Yates engines. It was probably the Ilmore deal. But one of our temperature probes at the bottom of the oil tank hadn't been properly installed and built. It didn't have protection on the wires. The wires chafed. So as soon as he plugged it into the wall, the bottom of the oil tank shorted out, caught on fire. We're sitting there going, get it out. We're freaking out. Get it out. Smoke everywhere. I was like, oh, crap. What do we do? So we figured out what it was. We cut that wire. We, got it all fixed up. And then we go out and we are mid-pack qualifying to go out in the order. So we go out, and luckily we repeat. We bust off a lap. It's the track record still sitting today. But nice. We had the next car after us went, and it rained. We sat there for over an hour waiting for them to dry the track. I think there was only 4 or 5 cars left after us to go. So we're like, they're gonna cancel this. We're gonna end up starting where we have no points. We have one race in history. We're still on the 5 race points from last year thing. So we'd be in the back. So we're sitting there going, I'm nervous. Drivers sweating, and they luckily for some odd reason dried the track and finished. I would have not assumed that they'd have done that.
They don't have
and they finished
the proper equipment.
Yeah, usually. Yeah. And they drug the tractor tire to perfection that day.
Everybody getting your rental cars.
Yeah. But luckily they finished up qualifying. We got the track record, and that was just cool. I can do this, And then obviously messed up in the race. Me and the driver weren't communicating well. We just miscommunicated a change. Made a change that didn't need to happen. So on the first pit stop, we dropped to like 9th, and then we fixed it up in the second stop and was tracking down the guy that ended up winning the race, Justin Boston. We were hunting him down. Mason, I call it curbing it, but off of turn 4 at Toledo, you can actually drop down 6 inches and drive in the infield, and it bottoms the car out. He hit that 1 or 2 times and just upset the car enough for where we were a car length behind at the win or at the checker flag. So just missed out there, sweeping the weekend and being able to retire early. But that just sprung throughout that year. That was the first of like 10 second place finishes or something that year for Mason. We had up until the point where we finally were able to break through and win at Chicago. I believe we finished second 6 times that year.
Yes, I think, yeah.
We finished second at Toledo. I know the big one that most people, if they remember anything, was we passed Kyle Larson at Pocono, drove away, and then he had to get on his horse and come get us. That one was pretty cool to be a part of. We didn't win it, but it was like we just drove away from Kyle Larson, and he obviously should have come and got us, but he ended up getting us with about 2 to go. We finished second, so that one put us on the map, and then we led the whole Michigan race. We were in practice, we were like a second faster than second place. We qualified on a pole by a bunch. Townley actually crashed. I remember he was the one that could get us, and he crashed trying to get us in qualifying. And then there was a caution with like 5 to go, maybe 10 to go, and the groove we were running, there was question about the cleanliness because a car blew an engine going into 1 and 2. So we were running the high side all day, but we took the bottom because it was a cleaner groove, and Terrio got around him and he had enough to keep us behind him. So it put off winning until Chicago. But Chicago was actually pretty cool because we were not good at all. I tried a different setup that week because I was tired of running second. I was like, all right, we're going to try something this week. And we stuck to the plan, made a bunch of changes that morning before the race, because that was actually one of the cool weekends where we got to practice, and then the next morning we got to come in and qualify and race. So I got to think on it, sleep on it, or lack of sleep there on it. Stay up all night in my room coming up with changes. But we qualified 11th, wasn't very good, but with 20 to go, we were the car to beat. And luckily, we were a little free, but we lost our lower ductwork to the radiator. Was the final caution that bunched us all up. I didn't know this at the time. I'm like, cool, debris caution. Cool. We'll be bunched up. We'll restart like 4th, and we'll have a shot at this. Well, it ended up being our radiator pan. We were a little loose, so that losing that front downforce made the car perfect. Well, come to find out, if I could have put that on a switch, I couldn't have done it any better than this race. So we ended up passing Boston for the win in that race, which is kind of big because that's Billy's hometown. He wants to win Chicago, and we were able to take that away from him. So I'll never forget that. I always say my number is 35 because I was born on March 5th. Well, come to find out, somebody ended up texting me. It's like, hey, your Twitter handle has 35 in it. Did you know that it was Mason's 35th start where he won that race? I was like, no, but that's cool to know, So, but it wasn't a couple weeks after that. I got traded to Venturini.
Yeah, I
and
remember
then
that.
we all met and started our deal, So
A funny story about Mason, when he first came here to Mooresville to try to find rides, somehow he knew my roommate at the time, and he slept on my floor for a week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. While he was up here looking for rides, trying to figure out what they were going to do. So,
wow.
So, yeah. So I always told him, I said, if you ever make it, because I ended up winning.
You owe me.
Yeah. We ended up in Iowa when he was in the 78 car, when they did the whole deal for him. We ended up winning that race, and I remember telling him, like, hey, if you continue to make it, thank me.
Publicly.
Yeah, exactly.
You slept on my floor. You owe me.
Yeah. Because you always hear, like, Ron Hornaday, like everyone slept on like Ron Hornaday's couch or whatever. It's not to that same extent. Mason, if you're listening to this, don't forget me. So, yeah, and then we started over at Venturini's, and that's when I had a lot of fun, and I could really tell.
I think everybody did. That was
a fun group.
It was like that whole group was whipped because, you had John West in the car. He wrecked a lot. And did he get hurt, or why was he out that year?
He got hurt at Michigan in qualifying.
That wreck, he got hurt in? Okay.
Yeah, that's when we were the fastest car, and all he had to do was qualify, and we were going to be set. Because up there, you have clean air, you're gone.
Yeah, we put up a number, and he freaked out.
Yeah, and he went off, it was
1 and 2, it was off at 2.
Yeah, it was off at 2. He hit solid, and then was either there or it was the following weekend at Pocono because we wrecked back to back.
He wrecked in practice, and they got.
That's when he hurt. It was at Pocono when he hurt himself in the tunnel turn.
Yep.
He had just went out.
Yeah.
And boom, like everything in that car was moved over like 3 inches. Like he hit like the way that I described it to people was if you lifted that car up with a crane on its right side and just dropped it. That's like it just pancaked. He hit so hard. He got helicoptered out and everything.
Wow.
And
that was when he was supposed to run the truck too, and Boyer somebody ran his truck.
Yeah, and we ended up winning the race. I'm pretty sure they did. Pretty sure they ended up winning the race.
I don't remember, but I just remember.
Or they were good. They finished second or whatever. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure they won that race. Yeah, and then we finished out the year. We won with Brennan Poole at Kentucky.
Should have won with John West at Kansas.
Yes.
Had a little pit stop miscue that was nothing of over the wall guys doing. It was secretarial concern. It's really hard to fuel the car when the second can has no one to hand it.
Yeah.
We come in with like a 35 car length lead under caution because how many lap cars were between us and second?
Oh, it was huge.
12?
Yeah, it was huge.
I mean, we were half a track ahead of everybody. Mm-hmm. We had lapped up to 10th place or something. I remember that. I mean, it was just embarrassing. We were in our pit stall. And we were the only guy on pit road. I remember looking down. I'm like, but we could not communicate. There was nobody to give the second can. You had to climb back over the wall and engage it. And it was right at that time where you needed to be full to make it. And what did we come out third? Mm-hmm. And that's when Austin Wayne got loose under, was it Gallagher?
Pretty sure, yeah.
And then he just wadded up the whole field and we clipped our quarter panel. We still finished sixth.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That car was so fast.
That was one of those memories that I let get away.
Oh, that car was so quick.
So disappointed. Ugh. So, did you ever see yourself as a crew chief when you first started this deal?
Yeah. I mean, even going back to when I was a kid, my mom and I would have conversations sitting in the grandstands of physics style talk, just what does what, why does this do this, stuff like that. Me and her would talk about setups essentially. We would watch Dad, because I had to be 12 before I could get in the pits to go help him out. So we would sit up in the stands and just talk philosophy on racing and life and the whole thing and have it all figured out. So I was like, all right. Once I got to working with Dad, I was like, watching what he did, I was like, okay, this is where I want to be. And coming to find out, getting down into NASCAR, the call on the race part's not that difficult. And usually I'm the one that's off sequence, but it's like, okay, this makes sense to me. I need to be here. I need to do this. A lot of guys in ARCA will sit there and, okay, what are they doing? I don't even know other people pitted. Yeah. I don't even pay attention. Don't even care. The first race I did, I bought a scanner. I was like, all right, I'm going to need to hear what's going on. I made it 2 races in and shut that off. Just, all right, I'm going to do my race and they're going to follow me. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of cool to this point right now. Whatever I do, usually I'm quick enough to look, all right, he's pitting, we're pitting after him. I think Kansas last year, we all hung out Sheldon Creed on the last pit stop, and he ended up dropping like a rock on the restart just because everybody followed me in, so. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, that's what I've always seen myself doing, and it's taken me a lot longer to get where I thought I should be. You have to pay your dues, I guess, to the stock car crowd. They don't count my sprint car experience, so.
No, but that stuff is cool though. What's wrong?
Oh, I just fact checked real quick.
Yeah.
Boyer finished 4th in the Athenian truck. Austin Dillon.
Something happened though. He was leading.
I think Austin Dillon won that race. In the RCR number 70.
Yeah. I don't even remember that. RCR
I do.
70?
Because I was pitted next to the Athenian guys.
Yeah, Austin Dillon, Sauter, race. Coulter, Boyer, Blaney, Eric Jones, Hornaday, Bubba, Justin Lofton, and Front Row Joe.
Lofton.
That was a pretty stout field.
2014, that was a stout truck field.
Yeah. Now, who do you have? I don't even know. I mean, you have the top 4, and it's like who's it going to be now? So
yeah, I definitely got to start paying a lot more attention to it next year. Start
BKR shutting down. It kind of opens the door for 2 other people to.
BKR, Red Horse.
Red Horse, yeah.
Red Horse is gone. Who else is gone?
GMS stayed.
Yes.
GMS is trying to grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually quite interesting to see what we got going on up there, being a part of it.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
kind of like I am part of it, but I'm right over there. I'm like a stepchild. I'm not quite in-house, but I get to use all their stuff. I get to talk to all their engineers.
Your satellite team.
Yep. I get wind tunnel time from them, stuff like that. So it's just really cool to watch what they got going on dynamic-wise. That's why I've actually, in the last week, moved buildings. I'm now in what used to be the TriStar building, but I get half of that building, splitting it with another satellite organization for GMS. They've moved up there, so it's a pretty cool time right now. It's going to be one of the best resources, or most resources for an ARCA team next season. It's pretty cool. So, like, I have a wind tunnel date on the 18th for my super speedway stuff. I've got wind tunnel dates for my downforce stuff at the end of January. It's a cool time.
Look what that partnership did for Stuart Friesen.
Yeah.
In the truck series. I mean, he was trying to do it on his own. It was like backmarker, goes out and like All Stars, Eldora, kind of gets his name back out there, partners with GMS, and this dude's running top 10 like, overnight. I mean, it was that big of a change.
Yeah, it was dramatic for him. Yeah. So I know that they've cleaned up, and there's at least one, possibly two, filling that spot. So there's going to be quite a few cars coming out of GMS. They're going to support quite a bit. So it's pretty cool.
Their Xfinity deal is pretty good, pretty solid too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is good. I mean, we got people pouring money into the sport still.
Yeah.
You know, like it's still there. That's really the main takeaway.
yeah. I mean, it's the same thing that it's always done. It's always just going to keep rolling over. You know, like we talked about on previous episodes. You know, the Yates are going to buy the Rainiers. You know, and it's just going to keep moving on.
Yep.
It's just going to keep rolling over. That new money, that new excitement is going to keep getting rolled over into the sport.
Yeah. I mean, there might be a lull of a year or two, but there'll be somebody coming in. I mean, 4 years ago, did you see GMS getting as big as it was?
No.
I mean, I wasn't even sure that, Spencer was having limited success in ARCA. You really didn't know where his future was. And then, unfortunately, that race we lost at Kansas, he won, and that, like, springboarded, now he's in Xfinity. They got 4 to 5 cars each week, or trucks, and then his Xfinity car, and then I don't even know how many teams use their fab shop resources, buy cars and supplies from them. I mean, it's a big organization now.
I know the Hattori guys use GMS to build the K&N stuff.
Yeah. I know right now they're building MDM's cars. They're building my cars. They're building a couple other K&N teams. I mean, they're pretty big. I mean, it's awesome.
That's good. I mean, growth like that, we need that.
Now, if I could just keep the fab shop guys up, quit from measuring my cars and giving it to other people, I'll be all right. I was just messing around with them. They built me a speedway car, and they must not have wrote it down or forgot something, so they're over there with tape measures. I'm like, get away from my car. I was like, just joking, whatever. I gotta play nice with those guys since I'm technically the house car or whatever. So,
well, yeah, all you just got to do is move to like Denver, and then people won't know what you're doing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Furniture Row is a start and park car.
Yeah.
Not that long ago.
No.
That's impressive. Within my career, within 10 years.
And you got that Riggin Smith sneaky win at Darlington. And then all of a sudden, Kurt Busch comes over there, and then you got the RCR Alliance, and they're beating him up. And then we all saw what happened this year.
Well, last year they put a hurt on everybody.
Yeah.
And then they blew that motor at Talladega.
Yeah.
Yeah, you knew that this day was coming with them. It was almost inevitable. And just to see, I keep saying the year that they had everything thrown at them, and there was no stopping them.
If he hadn't won that championship, there may have been riots in the streets.
Oh, yeah. I think that, and nobody was against that win.
I thought Harvick was going to get it, though.
You really thought the way Texas ended and how pumped Tony
Harvick was going to get it because you seen those, the Jimmy Fallon picture, and they were all standing there, and you could just see by their body language, you could see those four but Harvick was just kind of standing up, like he was like kind of just a little bit further separated from everyone else, and he was just kind of standing there, and he had this smirk on his face.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that fucker's gonna win this. Like he knows something that no one else knows. Like he's gonna, Truex
thought he had something in the tank.
Truex is running through the meadow with all the flowers and butterflies, and here comes Harvick and just swats up and just grabs it, just snatches it away. Says mine. Like that's
Big bad wolf.
That's the whole picture that I had in my mind. It's like, okay.
And the way the race was running, he was not there. He was right there, but it's like, all right, he's going to find something at the end and jump him, but it never happened.
We brought this up earlier, about how Larson kind of laid back and let him fight him out, and let them do their whole deal.
Class move.
Yeah.
That was classy, and I actually had this conversation today of that was a respectful move. But if you have a problem with what Ryan Preece did, you don't know racing. If you think that Ryan Preece should have pulled over and let them go, I'm sorry, we can't talk. You don't understand what's going on. You are not going to give up track position when you have it. Now, if it's Ryan Preece coming up there and passing those guys, say Kyle Larson went up there and passed those guys and roughed one of them up, and then they lost the championship because of that, that's not okay.
Yeah, I think the sanction body would even pull it into the office and say, "Hey,
when I heard,
look, kid, this isn't your show. This is our show."
Yeah, the fallout on Twitter of people blaming Ryan Preece and Elliott Sadler doing that move that he did on pit road with him. I understand he's embarrassed about what happened. He lost the championship. He's got all kinds of emotions, but Ryan Preece was holding his line, running his race. He thought that he had something to run for his team.
Yeah.
You don't pull over. If you pulled over, he'd been kicked out of the sport instantly. There's no way that
he's still fighting tooth and nail.
Yeah.
He gave up his modified championship to go.
You've got to fight. If you don't show any fight, that's why no one watched NASCAR, I believe, in the last 5 years, is this whole pull over, let them go, race it out later mentality. People want to see racing. That's why I think that ARCA's actually growing. I mean, I'm watching.
They're coming back to Charlotte.
Stands are filling up. Crowds, the car count is getting bigger. The spec engine, spec body, everyone thinks that they have a chance. They're still going to have the have and have-nots, which I like because the ARCA rulebook is basically just a suggestion pamphlet. It's not really much.
More like guidelines.
It's guidelines. And you get slaps on the wrist and stuff like that. But, there's ingenuity. In Cup, I'm sorry, your box is so small that last year I got to interact a little bit with the Roush people with the Ty Majeski car. And I don't know how many phone calls I had of, hey, is this allowed? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, cool. They get to play. They had fun with that ARCA car. And that's the kind of stuff that when they get excited to do something, that NASCAR is just pretty much locked down, trying to make IROC out of it. It's like, you're going to have the have and have-nots. Let it go. Nobody complained at all when Cole Custer put a hurting on people at Homestead. They watched the championship battle.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there's still a battle somewhere on here.
It was 15 seconds behind him.
Yeah, and everyone's like, well, you're not going to catch Cole. There's always going to be that car you're not going to catch.
Sure.
Can we get 2, 3, 5 cars battling somewhere for 20 laps like Homestead? Homestead's just a perfect track. But that's what you need. You don't need to have first place to 30th running within a tenth of each other. That makes bad racing. I think we've all would agree that we see that now. Aero dependency, can't pass, people whining. Then it becomes pit crew stuff where next thing you know, we got to change Jackman in the middle of the race because that one didn't get it done. He's like, what is this? Make the cars raceable, make the product good, and you won't have to keep changing the rules every week. So that's why I'm like, all right, I'm in ARCA. I kind of like it. And NASCAR, figure your thing out. And if you figure it out, I might try to advance my career and move up and do it. But the ARCA scene's where it's at. I get to play. I get to do my field that I get to operate in is so big. I can play with everything. It's pretty cool.
Well, think about, to your point, in the Snowball Derby. I mean, it definitely has its one-off thing going for it, but that's an open play field, and people go down there and just have a blast.
But damn, you better not cheat, because that tech shed is one of the most strictest ones. And I honestly believe it's got a bad rap the past few years of throwing out. I don't know if they've thrown out last year, but Chase Elliott for tungsten. My thing is that car better have been inspected
to the best of your ability before the race, you're not disqualifying the winner afterwards. That's BS. If you didn't inspect it or didn't have time or missed something, anything that happens during the race and after the race, that could be fines, loss of money, whatever, but the win is the win. Because if you still disqualify that guy, what's to say that the guy that finished second would have been the one that would have won the race if your car was legal?
Right.
Who did you bump? Who did you manipulate throughout that whole race? You're making a whole lot of assumptions that guy in second would have been winning that race anyway. Just because he was there at the end doesn't mean that, he could have not interacted with you the whole race, and you got to have some guy that's in 13th right now that you cost the win.
Oh, yeah, there's infinite variables.
It's like this is just that's BS.
Yeah, you go to one restart, and now third place is not third. The third place is now second.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what happens there, he pinches him off, or he spins the tires, or, whatever.
Yeah. So my thing is it better be teched appropriately prior. And then afterwards, yeah, you can take the point money away, but that trophy and all that's still going to be that guy because he manipulated 20, 25, 30 cars, whatever it was, throughout his race. That if you do that, I don't even want to go to Snowball because the chance of the winner getting thrown out. It's like, I don't need that. It's not on my radar, but I'm not a diehard late model guy. Some people grew up in late models, so they have to go try to win that race, and that's cool. I don't see myself doing it.
Yeah, it's a pretty $50,000 risk
you
take to go play.
And I know me, I'm pretty aggressive. I think he'll.
Well, you like that. That's the point.
Yeah. So I like to be aggressive, and I like to know that I can be aggressive. So.
You're very good at seeing it and reading the race. Like you're very good at calling a race.
That one's one thing I said earlier is like it just came naturally to me. I don't know if it's from watching all the different type, dirt races and stuff. I used to have to predict where the track was going to go. Dirt, it's different lap to lap, 5-degree temperature swing, dew point, all that stuff matters as to, how the track was prepped. It's going to change. So basically when I come to asphalt, I was like, well, this ain't changing. People that say, basically, I figured out in my career down here, when somebody said the track changed, they're covering for somebody screwing the car up. Simple as that.
If you've ever read a post-race report from like the PR people, that's the commonality there.
Yeah.
Oh, the track changed and we went tight. Well, no, I think
nope, you missed
carrier blew the adjustment. Is what really happened.
What they don't ever say is, the last set of tires was bad. Yeah, well, the damn tire guy put the left front on the right front. How many times does that happen and nobody is going to get caught for it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get away with it if the air pressure's right. But if you blame it on the pit crew when the air pressures are set the right way and you flip the tires around, but who's to say the damn tire guy didn't put the air pressure on the wrong side?
Yeah.
It's like the tires crap don't change that much. I'm sorry. I'm not one of those guys. I am a no BS guy. I'm not going to build in scapegoats in my people. And it's like, all right, he screwed up. The track changed. No, it didn't. No. Dirt, that changes. Asphalt, it needs to be 25, 30 degrees and a sustained period of time for it to have any effect on what you're doing. I mean, I'm not talking 30, 45 minutes, an hour to change it all. So if you're out there running on it, you'll never notice it changed. Now, if you're sitting there, the one that always got me was practicing the day before and then qualifying the next day. Well, luckily, I've experienced that with ARCA. We're not privy to the tire dragging and the PJ1 stuff some. So we go out there and practice, and then they throw that crap down. Oh, boy. Not a fan of that stuff, but...
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, what does that stuff do to the ARCA cars?
Snug usually, but like they just did a tire test at Charlotte. I guess there's remnants of the PJ1 or whatever, and there was one set of those tires. He got just into it just a little bit, and Grand Infinger about spun it out. So I don't want to see that stuff anywhere near a racetrack. If you need that, you need to just scrap your program and rebuild the cars. Do something. If you have to have tire prep, tire dragging, that whole deal, you got something way wrong in your system. But that's just me. I mean, I've been saying for years, Cup went the wrong way, putting tapered spacers on the cars. I've said for years the Goodyear needs to soften their tires up and make them narrower. Because if you make the tires narrower, you make them softer, they either wear out or there's not enough tire for you to be able to stick and go flat out. So the only time you have good racing is when you have to lift. And then basically you're in a balls competition. How much do you want to go in there and risk
Who's riding the line the best?
holding their throttle? And it comes down to who wants it more. I mean, that's what's gone. We talked about this earlier with the drivers. They don't have that passion and desire. They just a whole lot of waving people by. The whole package is flawed, but I keep going back to the sprint car aspect where here in the last few years, they've actually reduced the size of the rear tires. They still have 950 horsepower engines in a 1,200-pound car. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They've taken downforce away. They've put flat top wings on them. They've narrowed the tires. They made them harder. And the racing is some of the best racing you'll ever see. You never know who's going to win the race, what's going to happen. But, essentially NASCAR's taken the Formula One route where all you got to do is look at practice and go, well, it's going to be this guy. It's almost to that. And then NASCAR throws their manipulation into it. And, whoever they need or want, who has the bigger story, they try to manipulate the system and make it work. And I'm sorry, you can't tell me that's not happening. It's obvious. So, yeah, we've actually had a few officials come over to ARCA, and that's one of the conversations I have about every week in Tech Line when they're trying to institute a new policy or measuring this for control. I'm like, don't make it. They all refer to it as the dark side. Do not make this the dark side. We're able to have fun, and you got a product that's getting better, and teams are interested in it. It's becoming something again. There's some growth here. Do not overregulate it and water it down and make it that, because you'll go away. So we'll see what happens. Next year should be pretty interesting. I heard there's supposed to be some new cars. New teams, more cars, stuff like that. So
wow,
it should be good.
What do you think Charlotte's going to be like? Didn't they kill somebody the last time they were there?
We have a light from that, and everybody's required to have spotters.
What light? It's
race safe system.
Yeah, it's the caution light. Mm-hmm. It's the big yellow light they put on the dash.
It's a similar system to what IndyCar uses, but it's just a ridiculously designed light.
Because someone's spotter went to the bathroom, right?
They didn't have spotters at the time. They didn't require them. You could be on your truck. And somebody crashed in turn 4, and someone didn't know. And I guess the dude was fine. He was unbuckling. I wasn't there at the time, but from reports, he was unbuckling and got hit in the door. So that was a pretty bad deal.
So now they have a yellow light that's right there on the left side of the dash. Then when the caution comes out, the light
was
comes
that the last time they were there, or was that
pretty sure?
Was that the other guy that Kerry Earnhardt got together with in the tri-oval?
I don't know.
One of them two.
Fact check that, David.
Got it.
But yeah, I think one of them two ended it. I'm not sure which one was which.
Yeah, either way, I knew that it was bad, and it's just like when IndyCar was last there. The tire came off and went up in the stands, killed a couple people.
Mm-hmm.
So that place is fast. I mean,
I've already been looking over engineering stuff, the data, and that's the highest load place on any circuit.
Mm-hmm.
It's sustained loads of almost 4,000 pounds on
that's
the right
a
front.
Thursday night race too.
Yes,
I'm probably have to go watch that one.
We go from Toledo on Sunday.
A pit pass to go see that one.
Yeah, we might know a guy, right?
Yeah,
because they are like jail security guards at that place trying to get in there. Oh my God. I don't know how many times, even if you're wearing the jerseys and stuff, you can't get into that place. It's like, let me go to work. So.
Kentucky's pretty rough about that. Kansas is pretty rough about that.
Texas Motor Speedway, those guys are ready to shoot you. I've just
don't touch a cone. Don't touch a cone. If you touch a cone leaving that place, oh boy, they will wrestle you out of your car, put you down.
How hard is it to get across the street to the dirt road? They don't even let you go there anymore.
No.
To go to the airport.
No.
You have to go all the way to 35W and turn around?
No. Now you just have to get all the way to the right.
So you have to essentially go out off the front stretch.
Yes.
And get far enough down the road. That way you can get on the road.
Yes.
Okay.
But either way, you just got to get to the furthest to the right before you get to that big highway. You get all the way over, then you can get down. Then you take the shoulder all the way down to where that bridge is, and then you cut over.
Gotcha.
And then you're there.
I just know those guys make it way more difficult than it needs to be. But
Yeah.
hey, whatever. The worst thing they ever did for me was Charlotte when they took away that access road off, what was it, 29? You used to be able to loop around and park next to the dump on the back.
Yeah.
And you'd go down under that bridge, loop around, and get on and go north. But they blocked that up and stopped.
Yeah,
it.
they've changed it.
And now it's being
past
completely
couple of
rebuilt. I mean, now there's going to be another road there. So
Yeah, now they've changed it a couple times. I have a what do you
Arca
got?
was last there 2004.
2004. It was
the Quaker Steak and Lube 100 Arca Remax series.
was that the one where the guy driving for Shaq died?
I'm trying to dig.
It ended under yellow with, I think, Kimmel won or something. Kerry Earnhardt, and I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. Blaze Alexander.
I know that name. Trying to remember all this. I was a junior
I was in
high school.
I was in college at the
I was
time.
in junior
yeah.
high school.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Where's race results? Okay. Oh, let's see here. He's not listed on here.
Okay.
Okay. 2004 Arca. You want to hear
Who was in it?
the people who are in the field? Okay. Ryan Hemphill won. Frank Kimmel finished third. Reed Sorensen fourth. TJ Bell ninth.
TJ Bell.
David Reagan 19th.
I guess I didn't realize
Brad
David Reagan ran.
Keselowski 24th.
What?
Keselowski was in it?
Brad?
24th.
Wow.
Brad or Brian?
Brad. Funny how that works.
24th. He had to have crashed.
Norm Benning 33rd.
Of course.
Jeremy Clements 37th. Brian Keselowski 38th.
They had almost 40 cars.
Yeah, 41 cars.
Yeah. I mean, those glory days right
2004.
there, man.
Yeah, but it could have been just because it's here in Charlotte. Also,
Still,
it's still a lot.
I still don't see us with that many. I mean, we don't get that at Daytona anymore. We used to get 60 for the Daytona race and send
Yeah.
everybody home. So,
Billy Venturini finished 20th.
He wrecked there too.
Daytona, he broke his neck.
Oh, that was a Daytona. Mm-hmm. I thought he crashed. I think he crashed big at Charlotte too.
He might have. He
But
crashed
yeah,
a
but it
little
was
bit.
Daytona, but it.
Sorry, Billy, if you're listening, but you crashed a lot. I remember watching your clips of post accident clips, blaming everybody else. It was quite funny. It was one of my nights. So
Oh, unfortunate. Blaze Alexander passed away October 4th, 2001. So that was 3 years prior.
Okay.
At Charlotte, but it was 3 years prior.
Okay.
yeah,
But I thought he was in a dash car.
now it was an ARCA car.
It was an ARCA car.
Yeah.
That was him and Kerry Earnhardt, and they ended up upside down on the front stretch, both of them.
He
It was kind of like Tony Roper at Texas got clipped and
yeah.
head into the tri-oval there. That was the same deal, but they both ended up upside down and on fire and stuff.
So he was the 5th driver death from rapid deceleration, head to neck movement, basal skull fracture over a 17-month period.
Yeah, it got real not that it's a good thing, but it got real popular with even in IndyCar and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
when was the last basal skull fracture death in a race car? And all of a sudden there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
That was the last one that moved before you went to a mandated Hans.
Hans. Yeah. Yeah, that was weird because it happened to Senior, and then it happened like a couple more times.
Well, it happened to.
And then it was just like
it was Adam Petty, Irwin, then Senior.
John Nemechek.
Was he a basal skull fracture, or was he just a head injury?
That's a good question. Well, the point is that was only 16 years ago,
yeah.
Yeah.
and now, you had the famous Michael McDowell crash where he just barrel rolled.
He got out
outside the
limping, and
car.
that was it. It was like, oh my.
Yeah, I mean, if anything that's came good from all that is the safeties in the car.
The fact that
Yeah.
we're not losing people in race cars anymore.
When you can hit like cringe level wrecks, and then you see them get out, and they're still healthy enough to yell at the guy who
be
did it
pissed
to him.
off.
Yeah, they're worried about.
That's a great
yeah.
problem to
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
nowadays.
The cars got so safe they had to stop the drivers from going out on the racetrack after the fact.
Yeah.
because before they were always in an ambulance, or always messed up.
Yeah, you don't see of anybody broken ribs, broken shoulder, wrist ankles, anything anymore.
Amarola, but he hit a ton.
Oh, that was a strange.
And from what I gather, that was something to do with the seat insert
Really?
issue. They've changed the rule since then, I believe. Something with the way it was split.
Really?
But that I could be wrong, but that's what I heard. That was a rumor I heard.
And then Kyle broke his feet when he hit the non-safer barrier wall at Daytona.
Mm-hmm.
And now that place is a padded cell now. Everything is.
And there was still grass there. He was like accelerating, right? They finished paving that area.
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah.
They went safer buried it and asphalt.
Yeah.
All the way around.
Yeah, because they said that the grass won't slow you down at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, thinking of the ARCA series in 2015, I wasn't, this is not one of my highlight reel, but I was working on Austin Wayne Self's car. He got loose in the tri-oval, and Brad Smith came by and clocked him, and it actually held his throttle wide open. He takes a dead left into the similar spot at Talladega where Kyle Busch wrecked at Daytona, but actually at Talladega there was a lip that ramped you up into the wall, so you're airborne for 20 feet. He was at about 150 miles an hour. Moved the dash bar 2 or 3 feet. It broke his shoulder, but he's still racing in the series now. That wreck, you're looking at the car and the damage that was done to that. He was lucky to come out there with like a broken collarbone and broken shoulder. It was nuts.
And it's probably from the belt.
No, it was probably from his shoulder hitting the wall. But that whole car, the left side frame rail moved about a foot inward. Ugh. So the fact that he didn't have broken legs, pelvis, something like that, it's.
Think about racing in the 1950s.
Ugh.
Oh, sprint cars with a little hoop behind your head and your head's exposed. No roll cage, no nothing. It's like.
Those things like to go airborne and flip and toss.
They go out of the racetrack.
Yeah.
We could put a 2-hour montage of cars flipping out of racetracks.
We were actually, as a kid, 1993. Nope, 1994. The spring Eldora race. The 4 Crown was in the fall, but they had a spring USAC sprint car race. We go down there, and driver hits the wall off of turn 2. Buckles the front end, frame digs in the ground. We actually had this in a series of pictures. I need to dig this up because it's so cool. But we have a series of photos. The photographer got it. It flipped 27 times, end over end, from turn 2 and landed in turn 4. The front axle actually ripped out of this sprint car, and anybody been to Eldora for the truck race knows how tall the lights are in the infield. The axle cleared the lights and landed by the car as it flipped, continued flipping into turn 4. We made the press book for Eldora for like 20 years. Up until like 5 to 10 years ago, it was still in there as one of the big wrecks of Eldora. Wow. It was pretty cool. Not cool, but, he survived. There was no injuries. We ended up racing later in the year. He was the best man at my wedding. It was just a cool deal. Something to talk about. I guess
phenomena of
that's how I think about it. Is that it's not an accident or whatever. He survived. He was supposed to survive. We're good to go. Talk about it all we want. So
I like that. I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Yeah. People think I'm a little morbid. I look up the fatal wrecks and try to analyze them. Like one of my engineering projects in college was analyzing Senna's crash.
Really?
So trying to dig up all the research on what happened and what broke and what led to all that. And there's a whole lot of, I don't know if people follow it, there's a whole lot of finger pointing of who was at fault: the team, the track, the sanctioning body, because that was when they were experimenting with safety cars for the first time. They were going really slow. Just a whole lot of variables were in that. And it was interesting to do that research. And I think that's kind of why in the position I am, I'm cognizant of all that other stuff, and kind of makes my car safer. I think is because I'm willing to do the research into those tragic events, kind of like NASCAR does. And I've actually brought some stuff to their attention when they come, because they always come in the off season to meet with us. It's like, hey, have you thought about this kind of thing? Just trying to make things safer. And the big thing is safety, because you don't know, like Danica Patrick's crashes, with the damn steering wheel swinging up and hitting the roof, don't know where that problem came from. I know we have a couple pieces now that I'm not really in agreement with to solve that problem, but that's neither here nor there. I've got into that with the NASCAR officials a couple times about adding stuff unnecessarily and regulating other stuff like that. But knock on wood, we've been pretty safe here lately. So
I like how the NHRA did it, where they said, okay, we're going fast enough. We're not going faster until we can figure out how to make this car safer.
Mm-hmm.
And they cut the canopies and did some other stuff and
shorten the racetrack.
Yeah. No,
well, the big thing was the Eric Medlin with a tire shake incident death. I mean, he didn't crash.
Yeah.
So that was the first time they figured out, hey, we'll make your cage bigger and put padding in there. I mean, how do you rattle a guy that bad? So, we all think about it now. It's hindsight. I'm always, people are trying to take roll bar padding it out, and I'm guilty trying to roll it outside the roll bar, not for its intended use, trying to get some aero advantages and stuff. But it's like, where do we stop that and make sure that everything's safe? That's the big thing.
Yeah, I mean, because I've been to local track stuff, and you'll see exhaust pipe as roll cage bars. You'll see.
Somebody had a picture on Facebook the other day of on the fuel cell. There was a dumbbell zip tied to a fuel cell rack.
Yes, it was Jamie. Jamie posted that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, that is awesome.
Yeah, it was some.
I don't know where he got the picture of what the car was, but it was definitely for some sort of sporting regulation. There was a cage in it, and it's like two white zip ties.
There was a fuel cell. The battery was in between the bumper and the fuel cell, and then there was bars that crossed over the fuel cell, and there was a 10 or 15 pound dumbbell.
It was a 45-pound dumbbell.
40. Are you sure?
I could have swore I looked. It was either 30 or 45. It was big. It was a big dumbbell.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Fact check, click.
I mean, this is regardless, but there was a dumbbell with the big white zip ties, 2 of them, zip tying it to the bar. Like, what are we doing? Like
this is not where we're at.
No,
this is not who we are.
Think things through.
35.
It was a 35-pounder. No shit, it was. I was wrong.
I remember it being huge. That's how I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then you see the battery there next to the fuel cell. Isn't that great?
Please no.
That's somebody should see that, track that guy down, and go, you're done. You don't have the rights to.
Someone was banned. I hope the people who allowed anything close to that was banned.
So, for the layman, what is that doing to help his car? What is he trying to do?
I don't really know with trying to add.
Because I've seen like sandbags and stuff like that left, when you're on scales and you're trying to.
Oh, he's definitely trying to make weight with this. Because that looks like.
Not like simulating on scales. Like he's racing with it.
No, that was his fix. I have this dumbbell at my house. I'm out of. I mean, these are cast weights they're all different sizes and stuff. That was on purpose. So that's sketchy at best. I don't think I've ever even tried to do something like that. I mean, on sprint cars, I filled Nerf bars with lead shot, but it's contained, it's lead shot. Once it comes apart, it's not really doing anything. But a dumbbell with a zip tie, I ought to just put a dumbbell in one of my cars and see if they find it. Because we used to write lead inverted.
If find this, return to Matt Weber.
Yeah. The fat guy has a dumbbell. That's not. No one ever gonna think that. But we used to write lead backwards, like you write ambulance on the front of an ambulance. That way, when the driver went to back up, he would see the tag on the spoiler said lead. Mm-hmm. But because at some point in my career, I was not at the track, but somebody on one of the cars somehow. We used to put lead on the fuel cell to simulate a fuel tank rather than filling it up. So somehow they forgot to take it off there, and it went flying through the quarter panel. And one of them incidents where it ends up on the racetrack. I don't think anybody hit it, but there's a hole in the freaking quarter panel. I mean, it fell out. So from then on, we always tagged the spoiler. My personal favorite now as crew chief is I just set stuff on the trunk, on the deck lid, junk, and then if they go to back up or look, or somebody sees us, hey, there's still stuff there, just trying to not be that guy. Take foreign objects on the racetrack.
That is the one thing that I did notice when I would go and wrench on these cars, the amount of stuff that doesn't
Not
go...
to interrupt you, but do you remember your title I gave you?
No.
Ground Clearance Investigational Technician.
Yes. Yes. So to cut my story off, we would get there as a racetrack, and we would run our first run. We would do our first run, and he'd put me on a creeper, and I'd roll underneath it, and I'd see where everything's running.
Send him down with a paint marker. All right, it hit here. Okay, mark it this time. I was like, all right, what do I got doing setup wise? All right, I can fix that. And then next time,
basically, just the easiest job to get Zach to do. Just
well,
he's here to jack the car.
You were fairly new at that time, right? So,
earn your stripes.
I mean, he's a badass grill tape guy. I mean, I've never seen anybody line up the Polican like this dude. I mean, it was so good that was I last year? I took a picture of it and sent it to him. I go, does this pass your standards?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's pretty close.
Yeah, Rich Simon taught me that on the Polican tape, having it all not only be to where you can read it, but have it to where they all line up so the pattern continues.
As your layers, they're all the same. It just goes in a diagonal line. It looks so cool when you get it.
So it's not like choppy.
It was like Kyle Busch's car or something at Snowball. I saw on a picture. I'm like, oh, they got the tape done right.
See?
That's stupid stuff I look for from working with him. But
it's that little...
But this is from the guy that duct taped Zaxby's on the hood. I mean, you just expect this
But it's that same tick. Mm-hmm. It's all of that.
Well, he also does our website and edits these shows. And
it's all that same little tick.
He likes this detail work, apparently.
Yeah, detail work is him.
Make sure everything's fine.
Yeah.
What was the original story that I was talking about?
Oh, sorry. That popped in my head. I'm like, I got to bring that up.
Before we were talking about that, what was I talking about? I wish I could rewind.
Yes, we don't have that option quite yet.
Okay.
That dumbbell and that fuel cell?
The dumbbell fuel cell. What the hell was I talking about?
You were talking about working on cars.
Yeah, well,
and you were
this whole
amazed
episode
about
is talk about working on cars.
Typically they are.
What the hell was I talking about? Gosh, that's going to bother me. Okay, it's going to come back.
I'm sorry, but I had to.
It's fine.
No, that was probably a better story anyway.
No, I was just, God, what was it? I'm going to be editing this.
You pop in, we'll have to come back over for to finish or something.
I'm going to be editing this tomorrow, and it's going to be like, that's what it was. Damn it, what was it? I don't care to waste 10 minutes trying to remember what the hell I was talking about. I had a good point. I had a good thing I was going to say.
You would make a great stoner.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so we were talking about the dumbbells.
I forgot what I was doing, man.
We were talking about the dumbbells. He said a fat man with a dumbbell ain't going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was going to hide it in the ARCA car and see if they caught it.
Yes, see if they caught it. And then...
Where were you going with that?
Talking about going on the road.
And you were talking about when I used to wrench on these cars.
Yes, when I used to wrench on these cars.
That's all we got to.
And then I said something, and then I said something, and then you said what my nickname was.
Mm-hmm. No, that was your job title.
Yeah, my job title.
Yeah.
What my job title was. Oh, that's going to bother me. That's going to come back and get me tomorrow. All right, well, we'll move on. All right, well, I guess we can just go ahead and end on that.
We can do that.
Yeah,
because it's going to bother you.
Yeah, it's going to bother you.
Like I can literally say
there's no recovery here.
No, there's like veins moving.
It's the same tick. It's the same tick. The tape, the Zaxby's S, it's all the same.
We're going to end up doing this over like conference call to end.
We are.
No,
3 p.m.
It's fine. It's fine. But I guarantee we will start the next episode with the story.
You're going to finish.
Yes, of what previously on Young and Pruitt podcast. Okay, all right. I know you're on social media. Do you care about putting that handle?
No, I got Twitter and Instagram. Websta35, WEBSTA 35. Like I told you, I tagged 35 on almost everything. So,
gotcha.
And I basically, if you want to be bored, and it's basically pictures of my race cars. Random, when I set stuff up, I take random pictures of it.
Well, it just so happens our user base is pretty fond of this thing. So.
Yeah, so
you got some gold right there for us.
Yeah. I don't give away a whole lot of stuff, and I don't mostly hood down, dark spaces. Typical hide the secret stuff, but it'd be all right.
All right. Well, got a couple more guests coming up before the new year. I'm trying to get the big one, the big guest, trying to get that locked down with the scheduling stuff. Got another guy I've been trying to get on the past couple episodes. He came up sick again, but definitely trying to get him on. That's going to be a very fun podcast. Not going to say names because issues like that.
You never know.
Yeah, issues like that. Got another one coming up that is after those at the beginning of the year in January. I could drop a little hint. It has something to do with the Olympics. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
If you should be able to get it from that.
If you have paid attention in the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah, if you've paid attention, all I'm going to say is the Olympics. I'm just going to leave it at that. But yeah, be sure to check out youngandpruitt.com. All the previous episodes are on there. Layla's blog's on there. Got to get her to get another one up here soon. I've been messenger back and forth. Got another one coming up. Then we're on now Stitcher. Trying to get on YouTube. That's a whole little thing. I'm learning as I go along. I'm new. Trying to get some merchandise, and that's a whole other thing also. So trying to put all this stuff together. But yeah, you can follow us, Young and Pruitt, on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me at JackmanZack on Twitter and Instagram.
You can follow me at Tall Guy Turbo on Twitter and Instagram.
And that is the Young and Pruitt podcast. Thank you, Webster, for coming on.
Thanks for having me,
man.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Good luck next year in your new adventure with your new team.
Thank you.
So, see you guys.
See y'all.